What happens when one unexpected expense threatens to tear an entire family apart? The Carters always thought their love was enough. But when layoffs, college dreams, and mounting debt collide, will they choose each other or let money come between them? Stay tuned as we uncover a true test of trust, sacrifice, and what really keeps a family together. So friends, let's start today's story. It was a humid June afternoon in suburban Ohio when the Carter family's financial woes simmered over for the first time. June Carter, the matriarch of the family and a nurse at Ridgeway Hospital, brushed sweaty hair from her temple as she read over the monthly bills. On the other side of the kitchen table, her husband, Doug Carter, an electrician whose overtime shifts had recently dried up, nursed his cold coffee with a distant, defeated look. Their twin children, Madison and Tyler, both high school seniors with dreams far larger than the family's savings, lingered near their phones, trying to ignore the tension. Money had always been tight, but since Doug's hours were cut and inflation reared its head, the thin line between trimming the fat and cutting into the bone had become hard to distinguish. That week, the water heater broke down. Madison's rowing team needed new uniforms. Tyler discovered that in-state college tuition was thousands more than the family had estimated. Each new financial demand felt like a loaded question. What would they sacrifice, and at what cost? June tried to keep order, writing and rewriting budgets, color-coding spreadsheets, and researching every possible financial aid program for her kids. But Doug, proud and stubborn, bristled at the thought of tightening the belt any more than they already had. "We can't just stop living," he grumbled, pushing the bills away. June shot back, "We can't keep living this way, Doug." Madison retreated to her room, suddenly embarrassed by her dreams of joining the regional regatta. Tyler clutched his acceptance letter from Ohio State, relief blunted by anxiety over tuition payments he knew, deep down, the family couldn't afford. The tension was unrelenting. Every small pleasure became a source of guilt. Friday pizza night replaced by silent, homemade meals. The annual family beach trip, a tradition spanning a decade, postponed until next year. Credit card reminders popped up like digital specters, a reminder that time and money was running out. Then came the argument that changed everything. It started, as these things often do, over something small. Tyler asked for $50 to reserve his dorm room. June said no. Doug said yes. Voices rose. Accusations flew. "You always spoil him." June snapped. "Maybe if you worked overtime." Doug fired back, cutting himself short. Madison burst in. "It's not Tyler's fault. Why shouldn't we get to live like other people?" Grandpa Jack, Doug's father, who'd been living with them since his stroke, shuffled into the kitchen to offer his perspective, but was quickly drowned out. That night, as tempers cooled and tears dried, the family sat together in the living room, drawn together by their shared exhaustion and unspoken love. June confessed she felt like a failure for not being able to provide. Doug, who rarely showed vulnerability, admitted he felt useless, both as a husband and a father. Madison and Tyler revealed the pressure they felt not to become another burden. Even Grandpa Jack spoke, his voice surprisingly clear. "We've all been here before, whether we say it or not. Hard times don't last, but families do, if you let them." The following days were a slow crawl toward compromise. The Carters knew something had to change, not just in their bank account, but in how they communicated and supported each other. Madison volunteered to organize a family yard sale, digging up old toys and unused sports equipment. Tyler found a part-time job as a delivery driver, proud of every small paycheck. June and Doug swallowed their pride and met with the school counselor, who pointed them to local scholarships and a food pantry willing to help with essentials. Doug agreed to look into gig work in the evenings, while June, with a heavy heart, put the family beach trip money toward replacing the water heater. The whole ordeal forced the Carters to confront uncomfortable truths, but also planted the first seeds of teamwork and empathy. Through adversity, the Carters started sharing more, about money, about dreams, about the fears they all harbored but never voiced. The dinner table, once ground zero for arguments, became a place where everyone had a say, even Grandpa Jack. It didn't solve everything, but it was a start. Small steps toward new hope. The next few months tested the Carter family's newfound unity as much as their financial creativity. Every dollar counted, and every decision was a balancing act between immediate needs and long-term dreams. Friday nights, once reserved for pricey outings, turned into homemade pizza parties with movie marathons, their laughter echoing through the humble living room. Madison led efforts to craft and sell handmade jewelry online, earning enough to afford her team's gear. Tyler's delivery job provided not only income, but a growing sense of pride and independence. With her nurse's diligence, June started keeping a family board in the kitchen. Every expense, every suggestion, even wishes for little luxuries, was pinned up for open discussion. Doug, once uncomfortable with such transparency, gradually accepted that families need to talk about money, even when it hurts. He found side jobs repairing neighbors' appliances, relying on the Carters' network of friends and relatives. He even learned to swallow his pride and barter for car repairs and babysitting when cash was short. Their journey was far from glamorous, but it built resilience and curated a new sense of togetherness. There were setbacks. Grandpa Jack required occasional hospital visits, and Madison's team lost a close championship match. But setbacks, instead of dividing them, became opportunities for growth. The family grew closer, learning to share not just their triumphs but also their disappointments and uncertainties. Over time, the Carter kids saw their parents not as unmovable and fallible providers, but as people, flawed but deeply loving, vulnerable yet strong. Slowly, Madison and Tyler stopped hiding their anxieties. They learned that sometimes, dreams don't come true in quite the way you expect. Madison moved from varsity rowing to coaching younger kids, a job she found more meaningful than she'd ever imagined. Tyler applied for every grant and scholarship he could find, eventually landing one that paid for most of his tuition. He continued working part-time, using his paycheck not just for himself, but to contribute quietly to family expenses. The Carters' story, far from a fairy tale, was one of everyday survival and adaptation. What began as a financial crisis, filled with anger, guilt, and heartbreak, transformed over many difficult months into a deeper bond forged by honesty and shared sacrifice. That Thanksgiving, around a modest homemade meal, Doug raised his glass. "We haven't solved every problem, but we've made it through, together." June smiled, squeezing Doug's and Madison's hands. Tyler, looking across the table, realized how much he'd grown up, not because of what he'd gained, but what he'd learned to share. Grandpa Jack, proud but quiet, lifted his fork. "I told you, family's what lasts." The Carter family became a testament to the belief that, while money can spark conflict and force hard choices, it can also become the reason a family learns to talk, compromise, and move forward, one challenge, one hope, and one imperfect, meaningful day at a time. So friends, this is today's story. How you like the story, tell me in the comment box, and I will meet you next time with a similar story like this. Until then, be well, be healthy. Thank you.